I buried my last friend on a Tuesday. His name was Clifton Ray Simmons. We met at a steel mill in Birmingham, Alabama, back in 1963. He was 22. I was 24. We were the only two black men on the floor that year who hadn't been assigned to the furnace, and that wasn't because they respected us. It was because they needed somebody to clean up after the white men who worked the machines. Clifton and I used to joke about it during lunch, eating in the parking lot because we weren't allowed inside the break room. 60 years of friendship, and now I eat alone. My name is Otis. I am 87 years old, and I want to tell you something that nobody ever told me. Something I had to learn the hardest way a man can learn anything. Being alone is not the same as being broken. Most people, and when they hear, "I'm 87 and alone," they get a look on their face, that look of pity, like they're already rehearsing what they'll say at your funeral. I've seen that look my whole life, and I'm tired of it. I don't need your pity, I never did. What I need, what you need, is the truth. And the truth is this: I have lived through things that should have destroyed me. Segregation, the murder of friends, a country that looked me in the face and said, "You are less." I've watched every person I grew up with either be buried or forgotten, and here I am, still standing, still breathing, still thinking clearly at 87 years old. That doesn't make me broken. That makes me a witness. And before my time runs out, I'm going to tell you what I've seen. If this kind of truth is something you need to hear, stay. Subscribe to this channel. Because I'm not done talking. The first thing you have to understand is where I came from. I was born in 1937 in Selma, Alabama. My mother, Luella May, washed clothes for white families 3 blocks away from our house. My father, Ezra Augustus Sr., worked in a slaughterhouse for 31 years. They never complained, not once, not in front of me anyway. Growing up, I didn't know what loneliness was. Our house was never empty. My grandmother Cordy lived in the back room, a woman who was born in 1888, the granddaughter of enslaved people. She used to sit on the porch in the evenings and hum hymns I still can't name. When I was 7, I asked her why she always hummed but never sang the words. She looked at me for a long time before she answered. "Baby," she said, "some things you carry in your chest, and you let them out a little at a time, or they'll knock you down all at once." I didn't understand that when I was 7. I understand it completely now. By the time I was 15, I had watched my neighborhood change. Not the buildings. Those stayed the same, maybe got worse. But the people. Boys I grew up with started disappearing. Some went north, some went to Korea. Some just stopped showing up. You'd ask about them, and people would go quiet in a way that told you everything. I didn't disappear. I stayed. And staying, I learned, has its own cost. I want you to understand something about 1955, because I think most people, especially young people, hear that year and think it's just history. It's not history to me. It was Tuesday. When Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat in Montgomery, I was 18 years old, and I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting on the back porch of my uncle's house in Birmingham, listening to the radio, and something shifted inside me. Not a revelation, more like a recognition, like something I had always felt in my chest finally had a name. But that recognition didn't come with safety. It came with danger. My friend Raymond Pruitt, we called him Ace, because he always came out on top no matter what hand he was dealt. He went to one of the marches in 1963. The Children's Crusade, they called it. Kids walking through downtown Birmingham while Bull Connor's men turned fire hoses on them. Raymond was 20 years old. He wasn't a child, but he marched anyway. I didn't go, and I've never fully forgiven myself for that. I told myself I had reasons. My mother needed the income from my job at the mill. I had just started dating a woman named Della. I told myself the timing wasn't right, but the truth I've carried for 60 years, is that I was afraid, and I let a man I loved march into a fire hose without me beside him. Raymond survived. He came home limping, his shirt torn, his face burned on one side from where the water hit him. He never said a word to me about it, not one word. That silence was heavier than any accusation he could have made. You think you'll have the moment again. You think you'll make it right later. You think the chance will come back around. It doesn't always. Della and I got married in 1962. I know I'm supposed to tell you the honeymoon story, the happy years, the beautiful beginning. And there were beautiful years, Lord knows there were. But what I want to tell you about is 1971, because 1971 is the year I almost lost everything that mattered, and I did it all to myself. By 71, I had 2 sons, Andre, who was 7, and Darnell, who was 5. I had a job at a parts factory in Birmingham, assembling brake components. I was making decent money, more money than my father ever made, and I was proud of it. Too proud. I worked 6 days a week, overtime whenever it was offered. My foreman, a man named Harlan, a white man who I genuinely believe was not a bad person, but who absolutely benefited from a system that kept me in my place. Harlan used to say, "Otis, you're the hardest worker on this floor." And I'd go home and tell Della that, like it was a compliment, like working myself into the ground to prove something to a man who would never fully see me, was an achievement. One night, Andre, he was 8 by then, came into the kitchen while I was eating dinner. He had a paper in his hand, a drawing. He'd drawn our family in crayon. Della in a yellow dress, Darnell with big ears, which was accurate, and me in the corner of the paper, small, with my back turned. I looked at that drawing for a long time. Then I folded it up and put it in my wallet. I still have it. It's in my dresser right now. 53 years old, that piece of paper. He drew me with my back turned because that's how he saw me. Always leaving, always working, always proving something to people who didn't deserve that much of me. You are not different from me. Don't let anyone, any boss, any system, any idea of success turn your back on the people who drew you into their picture. By 1985, I was 48 years old. My sons were grown and gone. Mondre had moved to Detroit. Darnell had joined the Army. Della and I had the house to ourselves for the first time since we got married, and I didn't know what to do with the quiet. That's when loneliness first introduced itself to me, not the loneliness of being without people. I had Della. I had neighbors. I had the church on Sundays, but a different kind of loneliness, the kind that comes when you realize that the version of yourself you spent 30 years building isn't exactly who you wanted to be. I had spent my whole life being the dependable one, the one who showed up, the one who didn't complain, the one who worked harder than anyone in the room because he had to, because the color of his skin meant that being equal wasn't enough. He had to be better. And I had done that. I had done that successfully. But at 48, sitting in a quiet house in Birmingham, I asked myself a question I had been avoiding for years. Did you build the life you wanted? Or did you build the life they let you have? That question sat in my chest for 3 years before I answered it honestly. The answer was, a little of both. And the part that was, the life they let me have, I had convinced myself was my own choice. That's the trick they play on you. That's what the system does. It limits you so early and so completely that you stop being able to tell the difference between your dreams and the ceiling they put above your head. I don't say this to make you angry. I say it so you'll look up. Right now, while you still can. Look up and ask yourself, is this ceiling mine, or did someone else build it? Della died in 2011. She was 71 years old. She had lived her whole life quietly, beautifully, without enough credit from me. I said I love you every day for the last 20 years of her life. I said it like a man trying to pay a debt he started too late. She always said, "Otis, I know." After she was gone, I understood what my grandmother Cordy had been talking about on that porch all those years ago. Some things you carry in your chest, you let them out a little at a time, because if you let them all out at once, they knock you down. I was knocked down for a year after Della died, a full year. I didn't go to church. I didn't answer the phone. My son Andre flew down from Detroit and sat with me for 2 weeks in March of 2012, and I barely talked. He cooked for me. He cleaned the kitchen. One morning I came downstairs, and he was standing at the window looking out at the yard. And I saw his shoulders shaking, my grown son crying for me. And I put my hand on his back, and for the first time in a very long time, I let someone else hold the weight. That moment, that quiet morning in 2012, is when I started getting stronger. Not because the grief left. It didn't. It never does. But because I finally stopped trying to carry everything alone. Strength doesn't come from never needing anyone. That's stubbornness. Strength comes from knowing when to reach out and having the courage to do it. Now, I want to speak to you directly. You think I'm telling you a sad story. You think this is about loss, about age, about a man counting what's been taken from him. That's not what this is. I am 87 years old. I have outlived my wife, my best friends, most of my generation. I have watched my country refuse to see me, insult me, underestimate me, and I am still here. I wake up every morning with my mind clear and my spirit unbroken. That is not luck. That is the result of a life lived with intention, even when the intentions were imperfect. Here is what I know now that I wish I had known at 30. The people in your life are not permanent, not one of them. Every person you love is on borrowed time, and so are you. Stop treating the people you love like they'll be there when you get around to them. Go to them now. Call them now. Show up now. The things you're working so hard to prove them to yourself first. Whatever system you're in, whatever room you're trying to earn your place in, make sure you want to be in that room. Make sure it's your dream, not their ceiling in disguise. Loneliness is not a punishment. It's an invitation. When I sit in this house by myself now, I'm not suffering. I'm reflecting. I'm remembering. I'm talking to you. And that connection, this moment, right now, between an 87-year-old man in Birmingham and whoever you are, wherever you are, that is not nothing. That is everything. My grandmother Cordy was born 49 years after slavery ended. I watched Barack Obama take the oath of office. I am a man who has lived inside a transformation so enormous that most people can't hold it in their minds all at once. That transformation is real. The struggle that made it possible is real. And the responsibility it creates for you, for everyone who came after is also real. Don't waste what we built. Don't waste what we survived to give you. I'm 87 years old. I don't know how many mornings I have left. That used to frighten me. It doesn't anymore. What frightens me now, the only thing, is the thought of leaving something unsaid, of having lived all this, seen all this, survived all this, and not passed it forward. So I keep talking. I'll keep talking as long as there's air in my lungs and someone willing to listen. If that's you, if you stayed until the end of this, then you already understand something important. You understand that the end of a life is not the end of what that life means. My friend Clifton died last spring, but every time I talk about him, he's here. My wife Della has been gone 13 years, but when I tell you about that drawing my son made, with me small in the corner with my back turned, she's there in the kitchen. She's always there. That is the only kind of immortality available to people like us. Not monuments, not statues, stories, told truthfully, passed on. Subscribe to this channel, not for me, for yourself. Because the next story I tell might be the one that changes something in you, some calcified belief, some procrastinated conversation, some love you've been meaning to say out loud. I did not survive 87 years of this world to whisper. Otis is still talking, and I hope you're still listening.